Hi, I'm Mike with House on the Mend, and in this video we're going to be reviewing the Cekegon Electric Pruning Shears. Now, I'm not sponsored by Cekegon. I purchased these with my own money. In fact, I had to look up how to even pronounce it.
Cekegon. Cekegon.
So we're going to unbox it and put it through its tests, and let's get going.
If you break it, he will fix it. If you buy it, he will build it. House on the Mend.
So the unit comes in this nice plastic case. It's got two clasps here. There wasn't any plastic or a box or anything, just this case. And when we open it up, we have the instruction manual here. Then we have this little nylon bag that has a zipper, and that has, looks like a sharpening stone, some grease, Phillips screwdriver. This looks like a wrench, and a couple of Allen wrenches. So that's quite a bit of tools. All right, we have the unit itself, and then we have a spare blade, cutting blade, which is really nice. It comes with two batteries and then the charger. And the first thing I noticed that is peculiar for rechargeable battery cordless tools is the fact that you don't have a cradle for the battery to sit in. Instead, this wall charger plugs right in, and then at the end of the line is this kind of almost like an RCA jack, a basic jack that plugs into the battery itself. So that means that there's probably a BMS or a battery management system inside the battery pack, which I don't think is unusual. And then maybe something going on here. I'm not really sure what to make of that. That's pretty unusual. Normally you have a cradle that these will sit into, like these units here, where it either slides into place or it attaches to the battery, whatever. So it'll be interesting once we charge these to see how that works. Let's look at the shears themselves. So pretty substantial feeling in the hand. I'll get a scale here in a moment and we'll see what it weighs. I like this one because it has this hand guard here, so when you're getting into bushes and stuff that may have jagged branches and stuff, maybe roses and things, there's a little bit of added protection. These nuts here are all exposed, so hopefully that won't cause a problem. Looks like these are the gears that are actually moving to cycle it, so I wonder if debris is going to get in there. On the back here we have this little jack, little rubber piece covering it, and in there is the jack for the pole. So there is a separate pole that is sold specifically for the Cekegon unit, and you can extend it out and be standing on the ground, and of course get high up into trees and whatnot, and it plugs in there to actuate it. Now, I didn't buy one of those because the pole is actually more expensive than these shears. The shears I think were $110 and the pole is $130. So we're just gonna stay on the ground or maybe get on a ladder and see what we can do here. I see the power button down here, the trigger, of course. Feels pretty comfortable in the hand, you know, ergonomic. So let's take a look at the batteries and see what happens when we charge those. So the unit comes with these two batteries, and if you look here, they are 16.8 volt batteries, and they are 2 amp hour in storage capacity. 2 amp hour is right where the Ryobi batteries start getting good. Anything below 2 amp hour, the 1.3 and the 1.5, you know, they can run some things, but they go out pretty quick. 2 amp hour and above usually have some pretty good runtime for Ryobi tools, so hopefully these will be the same. Now 16.8 volts is kind of a strange in-between voltage. A lot of times you see 12 or 13, or you see 18, 20 volt, those sorts of things. 16.8 is a little unusual in that capacity. The charger has a little LED right here on what is the bottom right hand corner, and when you plug this into the wall and you start charging the battery by plugging into this jack here, it turns red, and once the battery is fully charged, then it turns to green. Now, something I found very interesting, right out of the box, when I plugged in these batteries to charge them, they each took almost 2 hours to completely charge. There's no gauge to show what rate they were at. Were they at 50%? Were they completely depleted? I don't know. Usually they're shipped 50% or maybe a little higher. It's kind of like an international shipping regulation that they not be fully charged, so I'm assuming they were about half charged. 2 hours to charge from 50% up to fully topped off is a long time. So what I found interesting though was that once they were completed charging, they weren't hot at all. So a lot of times with the other chargers, like the rapid chargers, the batteries are pretty warm to the touch. As you can see here, these were just a little bit above room temperature. Our house is right around 75 degrees or so, and the batteries, both of them, when fully charged, I tested them with this little infrared thermometer, and they were about 81 degrees. That's barely above room temperature, so very interesting. That leads me to believe that this is not a rapid charger, that in fact it's a very slow charger, and that can be aggravating to some, especially if you didn't charge both batteries before you started a project. But it might also prolong the life of the batteries if they're a slow trickle charge and you're not getting a lot of heat going on inside. So we'll see how long they last, and then I'll be interested to see how long it takes to charge them when they are fully depleted. So where do I see and hope these Cekegon shears will fall into the realm of pruning? So you've got your hand pruners here, little spring clamped pruners, and the fact that the spring return opens and closes them makes them really quick for cutting small items. As you start getting into bigger branches, then you need to gravitate towards loping shears, right? These big guys with a lot of mechanical advantage and these long arms. I expect these shears and hope these shears will fall somewhere in between. So they could definitely do the job of regular hand shears. My question is, do they open and close fast enough to make it an efficient use of time, or are they really slow and they close and then they open back and it actually slows you down? And then I also wonder how much strength you're getting out of the motor and mechanical advantage to make cuts on larger branches. Everything I see in the Amazon listing for these shears says they can handle up to 1 inch branch, so we're going to test that to see. And if they can kind of gravitate in between these two areas, these shears can be highly efficient and very useful. All right, according to the manual, the weight of the shears is 0.9 kilograms. So for us in the US, a kilogram is 2.2 pounds, so 0.9 kilograms is right at 2 pounds. Let's see what we get. Here we get 1 pound, 8.5 ounces by itself, and with the battery, it's just over 2 pounds, so that's pretty accurate. All right, now I wanted to make some comments on this manual here real quick. I am not very impressed with it at all. So first of all, it's kind of outdated because it shows a cradle here. You can see on 2 different pages for the battery and how you charge it, where we clearly don't have that, right? We have the plug going into the battery, so that's incorrect. And then it's very poorly translated into English. So here's an example here. Note, the machine for a long time in the process of use, grasp the fever is normal phenomenon, please rest assured to use. So, I mean, that makes absolutely 0 sense. I think what they're trying to say there is during long periods of use, fever, it can get hot, and that's a normal phenomenon. Rest assured you're okay to use it. But there's all sorts of examples like that that make 0 sense in the manual. So it's clear that they didn't even have somebody who speaks fluent English check it to make sure it was grammatically correct. Like, nobody even read it, which is disappointing. It does have a pretty nice set of illustrations on how to change the blade out if you ever need to do that. So let's plug in the battery here and start to look at the operations. Now, the battery only goes in one way. You can see a short part of the plastic here, and then a tall part here, which corresponds to the shears themselves. When you plug it in, nothing happens. Right here is a power switch. So you have to press it for a couple seconds. You'll get an audible and a visual notification. Hear that? Beep, beep, beep. Now, that second beep, beep says it's okay to use, but the shears are still closed. So you have to double click the trigger for them to open up. All right, and then a very responsive trigger. See that? How if you depress the trigger, it won't even go all the way. So it's dependent upon that trigger. You can also hold it closed if you want. So there's no worry about inefficient use that it closes completely and opens up. It's directly based on your trigger pull. Now, in its normal state here, it is about a full inch open, and that corresponds with what it says in the manual of 28 millimeters. So you're getting just about a full inch of opening. But watch this. If you're working on, say, branches or something that is smaller in diameter, if you press and hold the trigger until you hear the tone, hear that? Then you let it go. It cuts down to about a 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch of an opening, and that makes it even quicker and more efficient. And then to get it back into the wider opening, you just press and hold it again until you hear that tone. Now notice these little rings, jagged rings here that look like gears are not moving. So I think actually what these are spacers. They're properly spacing out the 2 places where you secure the blades to get them into the proper location. And there's actually no moving outward parts other than the blade, so the gear is internal. Now, if you were to just turn it off right here with the blade open, by pressing and holding that power button, notice that the blades stay open. So that's not a safe way to store it. So instead, let's turn it back on, beep, beep, and then you gotta kind of simultaneously here close them and press the button. Oh, whoops, let's get it going. There we go. All right, so close and turn it off. And now it's turned off with the blade closed. All right, Well, that's enough messing around here. Let's go cut some stuff. All right, let's start with something real easy. So this flowering vine here is growing a little bit taller than we needed at the house when I look out this window here when I'm editing video and stuff. So I want to get it down a bit. So let's just start going. Easily takes care of that. Now this stuff is really thin, so I'm going to switch to that shorter opening. Try to make it go a little quicker. I tell you, if any of you are interested in cordless shears because your hand gets tired or you're getting arthritis or something like that, this is going to be great for you. You're going to be back out in the field doing your gardening, and I bet you'll be a lot more comfortable. Nice and quick. I've got a little collapsible bin here. I want to keep track of how much we get done today on a battery. Yeah, absolutely no problem on this stuff, and I like that quick short opening. It makes it go real quick here. Handles multiples, no problem. All right, this isn't like pyracantha or anything with any barbs on it or anything, thorns, anything like that, but I can see how getting in there with this finger guard would be pretty cool. Personally, if I was cutting something like that, I'd have gloves on, but it's still pretty cool. All right, let's move on. Ooh, we got some thunder in Las Vegas. How about that? All right, so this is rosemary. Rosemary is a lot more woody, but it smells beautiful. We like to trim it and put it in some of our cooking dishes, and it's great. But let's take a look at some of these woodier sticks like that. I went through that, no problem at all. That smells so nice. If you like cooking savory dishes, a little bit of rosemary in it is awesome. Okay, check on rosemary. Let's go over here and take a look at these mock orange. All right, mock orange is a very waxy leaf, so anything that you're doing citrus-wise, you could compare to this. Of course, it has absolutely no problem trimming through this stuff here. Personally, back here on the green cloud, I would just use hedge trimmers, but of course it has no problem with those. And if you get a stray branch that's starting to stick out in your walkway, it takes care of that, no problem at all. So check mark on anything kind of waxy and citrusy. We recently limbed up our pine trees, so there isn't much here to cut, but let's get right back here for some of these undergrowth dead branches. Oh yeah, it takes care of that, no problem at all. Real resounding snap when it cuts that. Do you hear that? That's really good. All right, I think it's about time we find something that's closer to an inch thick and test its claim. Let me get one of these branches up here that's pretty close to an inch thick. Yeah, you can hear it bear down on it, but it took care of that branch no problem. You look at that guy, that's right at the limit, and it cut through it. No problem at all. Well, this euonymus here underneath this palm tree never really got enough sun, so it died. Let's get right at the base here, and oh yeah, no problem at all. All right, how about we take care of some of these drooping palm fronds here. Let's switch over to the smaller opening. Cool, you can do that with one hand. Taking a couple cuts on some of these palm fronds that are rather fibrous. So maybe get back here a little deeper into the cutting area. Otherwise it's handling them fine. We've been cutting for about an hour so far, and there's no mention in the manual about this little green indicator light, meaning the status of the battery, so it could just be power on, but I'll let you know if it ever changes colors. So far we're doing great. How about these seed pods? Yep, no problem at all there. All right, if you recall from the video I did on the Black & Decker chainsaw review, this African sumac is the hardest wood we have on the property. So we've already done the pine, it took that with no problem. I got it open to its widest setting. This is dried African sumac, a really hard wood. Let's see how it does. Nope. That it can't handle, it's a pretty big piece. Let's get over here to a smaller chunk. Nope. So something that hard, it can't handle what looks like about a 1 inch, maybe a tiny bit bigger. It fits in there, so it's got to be about an inch. Nope. This is about ½ inch here. Wow, I got that. All right, so it handled an inch thick softwood like those pine trees, but this really hard wood here is the limit finder for about every outdoor power tool I've ever tested. Yep. All right. All right, some of these understory branches are dead. Let's see how it handles those. Oh yeah. That is so quick. So here's another euonymus that's not doing too good. We have wild bunny rabbits that come into the backyard and they like to strip the bark off of these and it ends up killing them. So anyway, they are about an inch thick. So let's see how it can handle this kind of medium wood. It's not real soft, but it's certainly not African sumac. Oh yeah, you can hear it wrenching down on it, but it got it. Cool. Yeah, didn't like that one. Had to move down to about 5/8 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch thick, and then it got it. Oop, almost on this one. This one's, there we go. Took 2 tries, but it got that. So it's handling that pretty good. So I've noticed a couple times when I go in and I cut something, if I'm reaching in with the same hand, I've inadvertently pulled the trigger. So it's good to treat it like a firearm. Keep your finger off the trigger and away from the cutting area when you're not actively cutting. That way you're safer, or better yet, you know, you could put it down and pick up everything, but it's just so quick to cut and pick and cut and pick. You just got to be real careful. All right, so this bin comes up to my thigh and it is completely full. Everything from the palm fronds to all the various branches and pine branches and stuff that we've cut. This guy is still going strong. The indicator light is still green. I'm not sure if that's power or battery, but it's chugging along. I think I could probably keep cutting all this stuff, but I think we've made our point. Like, it does really good. Well, sometimes in the comments I get some strange requests, so I try to anticipate those. Let's see about, you're in the garden and you need to cut some PVC pipe. Will this guy do it? This is typical 3/4 inch PVC pipe. We put it inside this opening. It doesn't even really fit in there, but let's get it in there. Yeah, but it breaks it. Now, to be fair, let me get back here a bit. Nope. All right, so it'll do it, but you're better off getting a tool that's intended for that, like this nice Ryobi PVC cutter. It's nice. Thing about this one that I like is look at the cradle. It's got, it'll cradle the pipe on each side, right? Unlike this guy who's not meant to do that. It only cradles on one side, so it's meant to snap off. But it'll do it, just not a very good job. All right, how about a dripper line? Absolutely, it'll do it all day long. Personally, I like to use like wire cutters, get in there and cut it off, but if you're working around trimming stuff and you've got a little bucket kit with you and you notice that you've got a dripper that's broken off, you can cut a fresh piece of the line and put on a dripper. All right, day 2, same battery, and we've filled container number 2 full of clippings. Same battery, bin number 3, and in fact those branches are all so big that it won't even fit in the bin, so I'm just gonna have to hand carry them in bundles. Same battery, bin number 4. Same battery and the 5th bin. Same battery, now bin 6 and 7 is on the ground there. All right, we're getting about 30 minutes into this video, so it's time to wrap things up. I did want to share one more feature that I discovered, and that is a timeout feature. So if you set the unit down while the power's on, you don't use it for 10 minutes, it will auto shut off to conserve the battery, and that's pretty cool. I wanted to share that with you. So the manual states that each battery has a 3 to 4 hour working time per charge. And I have to say, through my experience in testing, I think that's actually a bit conservative, because I'm pretty sure I got at least 5 hours of use over the course of 3 days with this single battery, and never worried or wavered a bit. In fact, when it came time to charge this battery so I could tell you how long it took, it was only less than an hour, which means it wasn't that depleted at all, which is impressive. You remember, it was a 2-hour charge to get it out of the package fully charged. So I really have to say, with my pros and cons list, by far the biggest pro has to be the battery life. With these 2 batteries, I don't think you could go an entire day of work and run out of battery life. Just phenomenal. Also, I really like the responsive trigger. I love that you don't press it and it goes through its own auto cycle of opening and closing. That it's just super responsive to your squeeze. And then the Finally, the two different opening sizes, that 1 inch and then like 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch, is just so convenient to set it to that based on what you're cutting for good repetitious cuts. Now, I do have two cons that I wanted to list. The first is there's no belt hook or scabbard to put the tool into while you're using it. I started getting a little bit nervous as I was picking up yard scraps and inadvertently pulling the trigger that I might cut myself. And I just don't like putting my tools on the ground, but I had to, or balance it precariously in a tree branch or something like that, so that I could clear both hands to clean up in between cutting sessions. And then the other thing is there's no battery life indicator, so it's probably not that necessary with this tool because, as we discussed, the battery lasts so long. But I'll tell you what, with my Ryobi Rigid and Milwaukee batteries that I use, DeWalt too, some of them, I really like that battery life indicator. With a push of a button, you can see right where you stand and know going out into the field if you need to carry a backup battery with you. So I just appreciate that. Now, if you found this video helpful, will you please give it a thumbs up? It really helps the YouTube algorithm to start suggesting it to more viewers like you. Also, please consider subscribing. I work really hard to put out good quality content, and there's more videos to come. I'm going to leave links to this unit and the extension pole that we discussed in the comments below. Now, full disclosure, these are affiliate links, so if you click on them and end up making a purchase, it won't cost you a thing, but Amazon does reward me at the end of the month, and that helps to justify the time and the money it takes to make these videos. I'd love to read your comments below, so please feel free to do that. Tell us about your experience with them, or if you have any questions, I'll answer in the comments below. Until next time, thank you for watching.